Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Bit different of a setup today, so let me know if you like this one more than my usual. It's not too different, just kind of a more close-up camera and a handheld mic. I wanted to talk about the Odyssey while it's fresh in theaters and everybody's talking about it. This movie is really, really good. It had some weird controversy surrounding it with some casting, and a lot of the casting is super A-list people, but I think that that's to be expected for a Christopher Nolan film. He's never really been the type of director to go out of his way to get some like fresh new actors, like unknown people. Also with the language, which I did not find an issue with either of them. It did break my immersion a little bit to see Tom Holland pretend to be some king, but I think that that's completely a personal thing and a bit nitpicky. First and foremost, I really like how this movie's laid out and how it really feels like a journey. It's not told in parallel order, which I think would have kind of killed the movie. I like the way that it's set up as Odysseus remembering his past while he's stuck on the island and eating the lotus flower, and he's slowly like withdrawing off the lotus flower and remembering a little bit of details. But it's also a good picturing device, so when in the end of the movie that basically starts the movie too, it all seems to connect really well. This movie's super long. I think that the runtime is to be expected and does help this feel like a real journey, but 3-hour movies definitely do kick your ass. I'm a pretty big fan of everything that happens on the journey. Like, it really is just a bunch of side quests, but it seems to continue to challenge these warriors more and more and more until eventually it's just a breaking point for all of them, whether that's in death or Odysseus having to hang out on the island for years at a time. The things that everybody knows about the story, like the Cyclops or like Circe, are done in this horror approach that's super unique. Like, especially the Circe is super stylized well. I like the way that the people are like mutated into these animals, and then when they're turned back, they're like hidden by like a person, and then they like transform back, but like in a really cool way. The Cyclops being held in the dark for so long actually adds a bit of fear and helps you relate to what these warriors are feeling while they're hiding out and waiting for their chance to escape. I like how weird and like inbred he looks. Quite terrifying of a design, actually. I actually do like the change from the book where Odysseus doesn't have an ego and yell out his name to the Cyclops as he's leaving the island, but the Cyclops just yells out Poseidon's name in vain, and he has to question or not if the gods, or if Poseidon specifically really is cursing him now because of what he did to the Cyclops. I really like Zendaya in the film and how she represents Athena, but every person's view of the gods is very personal, and Odysseus is the only one that can see this Athena. And I like the way that they connected in the end, where I'm not sure if Zendaya was supposed to be a god living amongst people, or if Odysseus just saw Zendaya get decapitated at the same time as the statue get decapitated, and so that's just kind of who he pieced together as Athena. And that's where like the guilt started. I also love that Odysseus has that guilt from the Trojan War, of how even though it was a really smart plan to get them to win the war, it really caused so much destruction and almost like a new age of people just disrespecting the gods and being a lot more savage than upholding these laws and these virtues. Now, after Circe, a bit more of an ungrounded character is introduced. We go to the fallen soldiers and how that's where the guilt really starts to weigh on Odysseus, on how far this journey has taken him and how much people he's lost, and how he's told that if he continues that he's going to be the only one who makes it home, and how his men eventually just don't listen to him and end up eating the cow. and he almost shows like no remorse for them. Everything to do with Tom Holland was actually surprisingly good. When I heard that he was going to have his own little side plot of trying to go find Odysseus, I wasn't the most excited, but I think that it actually plays out a lot better than you'd expect. He actually has a presence that grows throughout the film, and as he learns and upholds those virtues, are old and fading out, but how in the end he's rewarded for it. The finale is really, really cool. I honestly did not expect the finale to wow me as much as it did. I did expect Odysseus to just come home from the journey and be like a true king and kick everybody out with ease and take his place with ease. But seeing that the black armor guy, I forget his name, but how he was assassinated after he came home and tried to be king with ease, and Odysseus learning from that and going in disguise as a beggar to slowly reveal himself to people he trusts, and then eventually having to do the bow and arrow challenge and then just wiping out a room of like 50 people was actually really, really well done. I like seeing Christopher Nolan learn from his action in his previous films, because in the Batman series, the close-ups, the constant close-ups got really nauseating and killed any sort of tension when you can't really tell what's going on because of how many cuts there are. But there were so many long takes in that fight where it would just be up close, like on his back, but you could vividly see what he was doing and the amount of damage he was doing. And he's not like having plot armor either. Like, dude gets fucked up with like a spear through his chest and multiple arrows in his back. Robert Pattinson as a more traditional villain was really well. I like how he's just comically evil and plotting on murdering Tom Holland's character, how that all falls apart in the end, and he still tries to like weasel his way into controlling the queen. This was pretty obvious, but the cinematography in this movie is absolutely insane. These practical sets look incredible. Like, they look so realistic, and they pull you into the story more than anything. Just seeing these absolutely beautiful like cities and landscapes, and each island having its own sort of vibe to it, I guess, even though it all does feel a little bit similar. That's it. I'm totally missing something that somebody will bring up in the comments that they really liked, and I think that that's also a really cool thing about this film, is that everybody's going to walk away with their own aspect of it that they really liked. I like that the movie starts with Travis Scott, of all people. Like, I knew he was in it, but starting the movie with that is quite funny. And I overall just think that this movie was surprising. Like, obviously Christopher Nolan was going to make a really good movie, but how he takes these stories and gives his own turn on it and take on it, and makes it surprise you every time with how unique and stylized and practical it is always really, really well done. I do think that this one is better than Oppenheimer and Tenet. I still think I like Inception more, just because of how unique and weird Inception is, and how I knew a lot more about the story going into it than I did for Inception. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back in around 2 weeks with the Spider-Man video.